At 7 in the morning, the Port de Brielle Quezon is a theater of organized chaos. Sacks of rice, hardware supplies, and passengers are packed shoulder to shoulder onto the wooden bones of a cargo boat. There's no fast track across this stretch of the Pacific. As the engine churns and the mainland slowly shrinks into a hazy line, the ocean immediately asserts itself, not as a scenic route, but as a grueling 6-hour filter. It is a massive blue desert separating the speed of the capital from the absolute edge of the east. We view long and comfortable journeys as obstacles to be eliminated by progress. A faster ferry, a paved highway, a direct flight. But for the island ahead, this vanishing distance is its greatest defense mechanism. The difficulty of the crossing is the very thing that preserves the integrity of the soil. This open water acts as a mercy moat, keeping the casual weekenders at bay and ensuring that anyone who sets foot on the opposite shore has truly earned the right to be there. You cannot just arrive here. You have to survive the crossing. When you finally step onto the sand of Salibungot Beach, the silence is heavy. It is a primitive beauty, completely undisturbed by lounge chairs, commercial umbrellas, or the manicured aesthetic of a luxury resort. The shoreline here is a brilliant, almost unnatural gold. It is the perfect blank canvas, left exactly as the tide and the wind intended. There is a distinct power in a coastline that refuses to be tamed for consumption. The golden dust of this island is not waiting to be discovered or improved upon by concrete foundations. It is already whole. To stand under this massive open sky and look at a beach devoid of corporate branding requires you to unlearn what a tropical destination is supposed to look like. It is a raw landscape that demands nothing from you but your presence. Movement across this terrain relies on balance and a deep, intimate knowledge of the earth. The Habal-Habal is the absolute lifeline of the island. There are no silent electric carts ferrying guests across paved trails. Instead, there is the raw, vibrating machinery of motorcycles navigating deep sand, cracked mud, and narrow paths cutting through dense pine trees. This is a transportation system born entirely out of survival. When the heavy rains come and the dirt roads dissolve, these drivers are the only ones capable of moving food, medicine, and people. To ride on the back of one is to feel every contour and perfection of the ground. This strips away the insulated comfort of the city and forces you to remain entirely present, deeply aware of the friction between the rubber and the wild earth below.
So we're going to the sunset area.
We cross an ocean to find a place that doesn't know our names, carrying backpacks filled with the very technology we claim to be escaping. There is a quiet hypocrisy in the modern traveler. We seek the untouched, yet we immediately touch it with our signals, our lenses, and our digital footprints. We climb these golden dunes not just to feel the sand, but to prove to a phantom audience that we were lonely enough to come here. We treat the absence of a cell tower as a spiritual cleanse, a temporary fast from the grid. But the locals watch us with a polite, distant curiosity because they know the reality of this disconnection. While we romanticize the lack of signal as a luxury, for the family waiting on a delayed shipment from the mainland, that silence is a vulnerability. We pay thousands to experience the thrill of being unreachable, comfortably forgetting that for the people who actually live at the edge of the world, being unreachable is a heavy cost they never had the privilege to choose. We rent their isolation for the weekend. Then, we pack up our cameras and leave. To circle this island is to experience a strange geographical illusion. It feels less like a single destination and more like a condensed blueprint of the entire country. You leave the heavy golden grains of one coast and suddenly find yourself standing on the blinding, powdery white sand of what locals call Little Boracay. The topography shifts without warning, rewriting the environment every few kilometers. It is as if the shifting tectonic plates decided to place a sample of every Philippine landscape onto one isolated rock. You move through dense, towering pine forests that feel pulled from a high-altitude province, only to emerge onto flat, marshy wetlands. The journey across the dirt roads becomes a rapid simulation of the archipelago, proving that the Far East holds a quiet monopoly on the country's most dramatic contrasts. Nowhere in that contrast more violent than at Lingayen Cove. Here, the gentle beaches abruptly end, replaced by sheer, dramatic drops and rolling green pastures that instantly evoke the rugged northern cliffs of Batanes. This is the architecture of the shoreline at its most defensive. The land raises itself up against the Pacific, trading soft sand for jagged stone. And this area is called Little Batanes because of its definitely resemblance with Batanes. Yeah, as someone who has been to Batanes, actually quite somehow a little similar actually with Batanes. And yan, kita nyo dito yung area. So dito pwedeng maligo, pwedeng mag-beach. At the same time, this is also a surfing area as well for the locals, especially during the time na medyo malakas yung alon. Pero right now, hindi siya ganun kalakas. Very serene siya. It's just that sobrang tirik yung araw. So, as nakasando, mangingitim at mangingitim tayo lalo dito. Okay? Di ba? Still part of Little Batanes, and on this side is quite a different view because right now, as you can see, sa likod ko is a long stretch of white sand. And I think this is connected to Little Boracay, right? So it's like a long stretch of white sand hanggang doon. So nakita to sa drone natin kanina. So ang ganda kasi this viewpoint actually gives you two different views. The other one is the beach side and the other one is the rocky side kung saan nag-surf sila. So make sure to visit Jomalig and explore the rest of Bicol. Quezon pala. Shit. Jenna Jackson, friend. There's no need for human intervention when nature builds its own infrastructure as well. The hills fold perfectly into the water, creating natural amphitheaters that overlook the open sea. It is a landscape that feels incredibly vast, yet fiercely guarded, offering a vantage point that makes you realize how small you are against the unbroken weight of the eastern wind.
Look at the rainbow. Wow. Oh, ganda.
The island is not closed off to the world. Visitors arrive. Colorful tents are pitched along the tree line, and the shores are temporarily shared. But there is a distinct boundary here that doesn't exist in heavily commercialized zones. The locals accommodate the backpackers and the lenses, but they firmly refuse to perform for them. The rhythm of the island does not speed up just because outsiders have arrived with an itinerary. This is the crucial difference between a community hosting tourists and a community surrendering to the tourist gaze. The visitors must adapt to the rolling blackouts, the bucket showers, and the quiet evenings. The environment does not bend to suit the urban traveler's demands. By holding their ground, the locals ensure that anyone who sets foot on the sand experiences the reality of living in a postcard rather than a packaged simulation of paradise. Standing on the shoreline as the light turns deep blue brings a profound feeling of being done. There is nowhere left to go. You have reached the absolute edge of the map. And the only thing left in front of you is an unbroken line of water. It is a shared inheritance, completely unobstructed by the ambition of developers, the iron frames of dredging ships, or the walls of an exclusive club. In an era where everything is commodified, the ultimate luxury isn't the walls of resort. The real luxury is looking out at the Pacific and knowing that the view hasn't been sold. They fasted from the temptations of progress so they could keep the present entirely their own. The sun sinks without hitting a single kernel, leaving the horizon wild, quiet, and completely free. They protected their sunset. Now, we follow the water back to the capital to see if a quiet current can still survive inside the concrete.